Hello. Wait a minute. We're getting an echo here. That's not good. Hold on a second. All right. That should be much better. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this balmy Friday night before the 4th of July celebration. Long weekend. And even though it's hot, I still have a fire going. And my torch is going because it's kind of buggy out here with the humidity. But I wanted to still go ahead with the tradition as long as I can in doing the fire pit side story. So I'm glad you guys can join me. So let me see who's here. Let's see. Wow, I see a bunch of folks. I see Gina. I see Mike F. Hello, welcome. I see Adam. I'm just telling a joke, and I thought for a second you actually got fired. Sorry. Citrullo, how are you? Thank you for joining. Arm Distance. Chris Toro joining us from vacation. Excellent. These June bugs are really annoying the crap out of me. I'll tell you that much. Who else here? Ralphie, nice to see you. Stephen Morinello, how are you? Good to see you. All right, we got a bunch of folks here. I'm very pleased. Thank you guys for joining. I'm going to light my candle, my storytelling candle, because we can't have a good ghost story without the candle. That would not be right. Actually, let me see. I don't want it too close to me. Let's put it over here. All right. There we go. And I've got my libation with me, my Friday night libation. Time to relax. So I hope you will relax and sit back and enjoy the story I'm going to tell you. This is a short one. It's not very long, but it's very creepy if you ask me. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started and see what you guys think of it. So this story takes place during World War II. Actually, 1944. And specifically, November 21st, 1944. So at that time, it's after D-Day. So the United States and the Allies have entered Europe through Normandy, have established beachheads, and are fighting a land battle at that point into, to free France and Belgium. And well, they've already freed Belgium, I believe, at that point. They're fighting in Germany, I believe. Yeah, I think they're already in Germany proper at that point. And one of the essential parts of that strategy was bombardments from the Air Force, from what was then called the Army Air Corps, and specifically the B-17 bomber. The Flying Fortress, as they call it, was crucial to the strategy. And they spent a lot of their time bombing key strategic targets in Germany to cripple the German ability to fight. And well, it looks like I just lost my other camera. Anyway, at least I have this one going. I don't know why that happened. I didn't even get to the ghost part, and I'm losing stuff. Let me see something. Wait 1 second. Let me check this out. I'm trying. Okay, I think we're back. And again, I'm getting the echo. Holy moly, tonight with these issues. All right. But anyway, so we've established it is the end of World War II, but it's still a major battle, still a major fight against Germany in Europe. And the armies, the United States Army's Air Corps, it really wasn't an Air Force then. It was the Air Corps, part of the Army. And their B-17s were a crucial part of this. And they were bombing crucial targets in Germany. And one of those targets was airfields, oil fields, oil refineries. So this story takes place because of a raid by the U.S. on a German target. And on the morning of November 21st, 1944, a raid was launched onto the let me get the name right here. Mertzburg oil fields, which were in northern Germany. And that raid consisted of a bunch of bombers and fighter planes that were going to drop their loads onto the oil fields, destroy it completely. And that was the goal. So they left England, and that was their mission, to go and bomb these airfields and then return back to England, or if need be, return to an Allied airfield that's been established on the continent if necessary. Excuse me. So this bomber crew leaves. This bomber fleet. It's an entire squadron of bombers that leave, and they immediately encounter heavy resistance from German anti-aircraft guns, as well as Luftwaffe, which was the German Air Force fighter planes. So they're in the midst of an air battle in the sky. And so this is going on. Now, like I said, this battle was supposed to, it wasn't, there was always a battle because of the anti-aircraft guns and because of the Luftwaffe. But there was really no understanding or expectation that unless it was an emergency that they would land in Europe. They were to drop their loads and go back to England. So there was one airfield in Belgium that was armed by, managed, I guess, or run by the English, the Royal Air Force and the Royal Air Corps. And that night they did not expect anything. So the crew leaves, they drop, they enter this battle, etc. And that later in the day, the crew, the individuals on the field in this English airfield in Belgium notice or hear in the distance a bomber coming towards them. Now, this is not expected, like I mentioned. So there's immediate apprehension. What's going on? Is this an emergency landing? Somebody's in trouble. It's probably either it's a German coming to bomb us or one of ours is in trouble. So they really brace for an emergency landing. And all the people on that base, get ready for this to happen. And as they see a bomber coming towards them, they immediately recognize it as an Allied bomber. However, they also recognize that it's very erratic. It's flying very erratically. And it looks like it's in a bit of trouble. But it still seems like it's coming in for a landing. And it is. It's coming in for a landing. And it starts to descend towards the airfield, exactly where a normal airplane would land in an emergency. And it comes down with the air landing gear, the wheels out of the plane. So this plane comes and touches down very roughly, and they notice that three of the engines, these bombers had 4 propeller engines. 3 of the engines are roaring or going. One of them is not. One of them's out. So one of them was actually damaged. So to the observer, that's a message of why it might be erratic, because one of the engines is out. So there's a little bit of difficulty for the pilot to land under that because the equilibrium is off a little bit. One of the engines is not working. So this plane roughly comes down, hits the ground, very bumpy. Uh, the wings kind of bang against the ground, and the propellers kind of bend on one of the engines. In fact, the broken engine, the propeller kind of bends, and it comes to a stop. Now, the people on the ground are waiting for. Once it comes to a stop, they're waiting for the doors to open up and for the people inside to come running out, an emergency landing. So they're waiting, nothing's happening. 15 minutes go by, nothing's happening. Now, the plane is at a standstill on the field, and 3 of the propellers are roaring. 3 of the engines are roaring. They continue to go. So now there's another thing that pops into the mind. Could this be a trap? Could this be that this bomber was captured by the enemy and this was brought in as a trap? And once they go, they come close, maybe the bombs will go off, maybe who knows what. So this apprehension is going on. So they radio in for their superior, and the superior that comes to the field, and he arrives 20 minutes later from the landing time. So 20 minutes later, before this Major John Crisp arrives, he comes to the field and he sees what the rest of the crew sees. He sees these propellers going. So he understands the situation. He understands he has the same fears as the others on the ground. So he takes out his sidearm and he decides he's going into this plane to figure out what's going on. He approaches the plane softly, quietly, goes past the engines, which are still going, goes under to under the bomb bay area into where the door is, slowly opens the door. And as he opens the door, it's kind of like an air suction sound comes out, like kind of like. So he continues to go inside very cautiously, and he looks around and he sees no one, not a soul in the plane, not an aviator, not a pilot, no gunners, nothing. The plane is completely, totally empty. Well, at this point, he decides, I better shut off the engines. Being a pilot himself, being, part of the Royal Air Corps, he understood how to do that. He goes and shuts down the engines. And then, he calls for some of his subordinates to come on board, and they come on board and they begin to look around in the plane. And they find a couple of different things that are very interesting and very puzzling. Not only is the plane empty, but there's very little damage on the plane, very little damage at all. Now, this plane was in, and they've already know about the heavy fighting that the bomber group had gone through over the oil fields. So they suspect that there's got to be some type of damage on this plane, but there really isn't. The only thing they notice is the broken engine that was out. And they noticed that there was some damage on the bomb bay doors. So the doors that would open up and allow the bombs to drop. There was damage there as if it took a hit. It took a hit from something, whether it was anti-aircraft or whether it was a fighter plane. They also noticed that inside all the parachutes are there. 12 parachutes are inside the plane. So what happened to the crew? How did they abandon ship without parachutes? So they further their search. And they find, actually, on the aviator's desk, the logbook is left open. And in the logbook, it simply says bad flak, meaning they were taking a lot of flak, a lot of air and surface to air type of ammunition, shots from the anti-aircraft gun. So a lot of flak it was taking. They also find some food hanging around here and there where crew would normally sit, and a lot of chocolate bars actually were half eaten. So in other words, someone was eating chocolate and then put it down before they vanished or abandoned ship. But what did they do? Did they jump out and commit suicide? What happened to these people? So the mystery is getting glaring at this point, and they radio over to U.S. command because they recognized from the serial number of the plane, well, it obviously was a B-17, but from the serial number of the plane, they were able to look it up and realize that it was registered to a specific base. It was stationed at a specific base in England as part of the 91st Bomber Group. So they radio over for U.S. help. Now, U.S. troops come and do their same investigation of the plane. And they also bring with them the list of all the names of the people that were assigned to this plane. So they have the total crew, all of the crew's name on there. And they began a search for them, and they started radioing around to different areas or bases in Belgium, in England, if by some reason to try to find these folks. And lo and behold, they find all 10 members of the crew to this specific plane in an airfield just west of where the plane had landed in Belgium. So another British base farther west, and if you can conceptualize, the east is closer to the front lines. The east is Germany. West is, towards Spain. It's nothing to worry about there. So that's the safer areas. So they find who these people are. They find out that all 10 of them are at this one base. So they begin to go and question the captain. Captain DeBolt was his name, DeBolt. And they asked the captain, what happened here? How is this? What did you do? Do you abandon ship? Obviously you did, but how did you abandon ship? How did this happen? And how did the plane land? Well, DeBolt is as surprised as anyone else that the plane actually landed. And he tells his side of the story as such that they were in the midst of the battle. They were taking a heavy flak, a lot of damage, and decided they had to veer off. And at that point, one of their engines gets shot. So that's the engine that's gone. So they veer off towards England. They veer off to the north to go back to England. And as they're doing that, they realize that the plane is very erratic. And even as they're doing that, they take a direct hit from anti-aircraft in their bomb bay doors. And DeBolt swears up and down that he has no understanding of how they survived that, because normally that would have ignited their own bombs and destroyed the plane, because this direct hit where the bombs were. But for some reason, nothing happened other than it hit the bomb bay doors. The anti-aircraft ammunition hit the bomb bay doors. So they proceed to north, and they realize that as the engine is erratically, and the plane is erratically jumping up and down without that one engine, that they don't feel they can make it back to England. They don't feel they can make it across the channel. So at that point, he decides, all right, let's throw as much stuff off of the plane as possible. And the crew begins to do that. They start throwing anything they can out into the sea to get it, because the plane is losing elevation. But unfortunately, that doesn't do it. That does not do it. So he decides, I only have one choice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the plane back around towards Belgium, and I am going to try to make it back to Belgium. As they're getting closer to Belgium, they realize that they're really losing a lot of altitude at this point. And he orders the crew to jump out and parachute out with their parachutes. And they do. They jump out and they safely land in Belgium and get to the nearest airbase. So that leaves a bunch of things up in the air, right? How did the plane not explode when it got a direct hit? How do you account for DeBolt saying they were taking heavy damage all over the plane? How did that not appear on the plane when it landed? And most of all, how on earth did a plane land itself in a field, in the exact field, an Allied field where a plane should land, without anyone in the plane? So, like I said, DeBolt himself is shocked by this. He assumed that the minute they were going to abandon that ship, it was going to crash. And, and that was the end of that. That was the end of that bomber. It was history. So, what is the U.S., the Army, say about this? Well, actually, what they do, how they close this out, is say that what happened was a pure coincidence that he put the plane on autopilot, and by some miraculous turn of events, the plane landed on its own in the natural course. And they closed the file, and that's the story. But the members of that flight crew did not buy it themselves. And in fact told a story of something else that nobody else really knew, that in their eyes would have explained what happened. There was a crew chief, a sergeant, a crew chief who was responsible for from their battle group, who would take care of the planes, the maintenance of the planes. So whenever the planes would come out, they would come back in. There would be a crew that would come in and repair the planes and make sure they're safe for each battle, each next mission. And that man's name was a Sergeant Lefty O'Hanlon. Now, in the previous mission, and over the time, Lefty made it very clear that he loved this plane in particular, that this plane specifically was his baby, and would often say things like he would fight the devil, or he would deny the devil before he ever let anything happen to this plane. In other words, it was his mission to take care of this plane, and he would do anything in his power to take care of this plane. So the prior mission, that before this one, Lefty went up with the crew because there was something he was concerned about with the plane, and he felt that he could go up with the crew, and if something were to happen, that whatever he was concerned with, he would be able to fix it in air and get them safely back. So he went up on that prior mission. Now, unfortunately, during that mission, Lefty died because there was a flak, or there was shrapnel that from a hit on the plane that actually killed him. So Lefty ended up dying on that plane on the last mission. So when you think about that, and you think about what Lefty said, Captain DeBolt and his entire crew swore that if you ask them, that it was Lefty's ghost that saved that plane, that Lefty's ghost was with them on that mission. And when they had to bail out, Lefty made sure that that plane safely landed back in the airfield, because that was his baby, and he would fight the devil to protect it at all odds. So to me, sounds like a very plausible solution, because I can't understand why or how a plane would actually land, how the landing gear would actually come out, because the landing gear was not out, but the landing gear actually came out as it was approaching the field and it landed. To me, there's no other explanation as to how that happened. Autopilot in 1944 was simply a device that held the trajectory of the plane on a specific course. It would not do anything like land the plane or anything like that. So to me, that is the creepiest part of this, is that there is no answer other than a supernatural answer to why this plane landed safely on that field on November 21st, 1944. So that's the story. That is the story of the Phantom Flying Fortress B-17. And to this day, it goes down in the record books as a freak of chance that it landed. But many people believe that there is the supernatural explanation for it. So that's my story for tonight. I hope you liked it. It's pretty short one, but I thought it was very interesting. So let me look at the chat and see what's going on. Oh, I see Todd Father stopped in. I know he's doing a wedding. Thank you for doing that. Let's see. Just Chilling was here. Nice. West Texas Burrito. Thank you for dropping in. Wow, a bunch of guys coming by today. That's pretty cool. Evan, nice to see you, buddy. it had to be. It had to be that. I mean, listen, I'm open minded. I'm very open minded when it comes to the supernatural type stuff. But this one, there's no earthly explanation for this. I mean, happenstance. I don't see how that's possible. I really don't. I could see a happenstance that it would crash, that it would get back to land, but that it would safely land, and that the gears would come out. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. So I don't know what you guys think. I see some of you guys saying you agree, or that you thought. Mike F says that he believes in the supernatural, so that it's possible. So yeah, that's the story. So I don't know what everybody else is doing this evening or doing for the holiday weekend. It's a very long holiday weekend. You got 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, for the Independence Day. So I took off today and I took off Wednesday. So it gave me a little bit more time, gave me 6 days, actually 6 days, with the weekend. So it was pretty cool. Evan, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Adam. Evan, yeah, I believe in it too. Adam, oh yeah, thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Evan, you could always go back and hear the beginning. I mean, it's not that long of a story. It's pretty short, the story. My fire here is bringing up a lot of smoke. From all that rain, a lot of my wood got soaked, even though it's covered. That rain was so heavy over the past week or so that it pummeled my wood. So that's all fresh water that's burning off. Yeah, Evan. I mean, actually, I didn't even go in the pool today. I didn't even go in at all. But I will definitely do it. Hopefully the weather holds out. I will definitely be in the pool this weekend. And so that's my story for tonight, guys. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me a little bit for a short one. If anybody didn't see last night's wine tasting, you might want to go back and look at it. It's pretty fun. It was a fun one with Stiggs and I. It was a good wine, and it was also we spent a lot of time talking about Italian culture and stuff like that. So it was a fun chat. If you want to go back and take a look at that. Adam, you believe in the living? It stops there. Sorry. Okay. Well, you believe what you want to believe. But can you give me an explanation for that story? Because I don't have one. I don't have a logical explanation for that. And that's not a made-up story. That is a real story. I didn't make that story up. Or the people that told it didn't make it. It's a documented story. So I don't know what the earthly explanation is for that. It's bizarre. But that's what makes it interesting, right? That's what's interesting, is that there's no easy answer to it. Todd Father. Let me add Todd Father to the stream. Hold on. I'm looking at his. There we go. There's his dance floor. Look at that. Very nice. Very nice.
Live.
Live from Buffalo. Well, it looks like the bride is having a good time.
Say hello.
And that was that was a little peek at Todd Father's wedding that he's doing. I don't know how much they know about that. How much was how that their wedding was being broadcasted. So I figured I'd better shut it off. But that was interesting. Yes, it's true. The bride was having a ball there. It looked like bride was having a ball. And it looks like I lost my fire scene again. Oh boy. I guess Lefty's ghost is screwing with me a little bit here, I guess, today. But yeah, so I hope everyone has something at least relaxing to do this weekend, because we all need it. We all need a little bit of relaxation. I was thinking about doing a little pipe smoke here, but I don't know if I feel like doing it. You know, it's funny because I usually have the long pipe. This little one, I've had this one for a long time. This one's made in Italy. It's a nice little pipe. But let me see if I can. Hold on one second. Let me see if that I could get back the fire stream. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know. It's not working too well. Gremlins or ghosts, whatever you want to call them. Hi, Nick M. I don't know, Adam, if you could scare me. I don't know. You could try, but I don't know if you could do it. I don't know. I got enough things happening out here. I have enough sounds out here. And I'm always on edge looking for what's next. Oh, thank you, Gina. I appreciate that. Freddie's welcome here, man. Freddie is welcome at any time. Freddie and family reduced the chipmunk population to the point where I don't have to worry about the garden anymore. They were my biggest problem, and I don't see them this year at all. So I think he gets credit for that. I don't know what was going on today, but I did not. Well, I know what I did today, but I didn't see much on YouTube today. I didn't see much activity going on YouTube today. I don't know. Did TheGuild go live today? I think he did. I wasn't in there. I was doing something at the time, so I wasn't in his chat today. But I did. Yeah, I did see him. I saw part of. I replayed part of it. That was today. Yeah. And I was on Stiggs this morning a little bit. I was participating with Stiggs a little bit this morning. Yeah, Ralphie, did you go live? I didn't see anything from you. If you did, I missed it. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like we might have the fire stream back. Hold on 1 second. There we go. We got our fire scene back. Yeah, Mike, I agree. Mike. I really, a lot of people say they don't watch the drama channels, but I really don't watch the drama channel. I really don't. So whenever Tommy or Dean do, they start talking about, I'm clueless because I don't watch that stuff. I do not watch it at all. So I don't really know what's even going on. And it sounds like the same stuff's going on. It's just different times, but it's the same stuff. Same stuff, different day, you know? So I invite everybody to purge like you're doing. This one's a nice little pipe. One little Popeye pipe. A little small one. Yeah, it's the same, Nick. I know. Yep, Citrullo, it's all about making money. It really is. Look, and I don't begrudge anybody for wanting to make money, but there's a price for that, right? Are you willing to pay the emotional, and I even think like the spiritual price for that? Like there's a price that goes along with that, and it weighs on an individual. Unless you're a sociopath. If you're a sociopath, then I guess it doesn't matter. But I I just don't buy into it. I just don't. And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back because I don't do that stuff. It's just honest. I'm just being honest. I don't even find it interesting either. I just don't find it interesting. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for joining. I hope you have a great weekend. The Genovese arrests, the ones, is that the Citrullo? Is that the ones, the robbery? Is that the heist? The heist in New York City? Is that the one you're talking about? It's kind of cloudy out tonight. I don't see any stars. No, there's news after. Oh, there is. Okay, I didn't know because I didn't. I haven't been watching. I haven't been following that stuff for the most part. So, but there's new Genovese arrests. Huh? Okay. Mm. I'm sure Tommy's on top of it. I'm sure he can brief me on it. Yeah, it's kind of quiet. You're right. It is. Um, I hear some frogs in the distance, tree frogs, but they're not like they were that not last week or whenever I did this last. I think last week I did it inside because it was raining, but the week before, where the frogs were like right in the trees here, and it was really warm, hot, and humid, and that haze from Canada was. Noticed it this morning and most of the day, but it's kind of cooled off a bit. But there's still that cloud cover from. I think it's from that haze. Oh, thank you, Citrullo. Yeah, I mean, I mean, the pre-records I like because I can just do them when I can and then launch them anytime I want. I'm not stuck to a specific time or scenario. I don't have to worry about the weather. I don't have to worry about nothing else happening. So I kind of like them. I like the concept of that. Yeah, Ralph, I know. It can't it's for some reason it's always brought up. It's always brought up. Excuse me. Yeah, Adam, I know. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Yeah, Adam, I mean I don't know what to say to that. It's true. You're right though. People act like it is the end of the world. But well, thank you, West Texas. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I what I try to do is I try to look for stories that are not known, that are not really, not that they're not known completely, but they're not common. They're not common stories. They're kind of out there, kind of forgotten by time a little bit. Those are the ones that I find interesting. The fact that you don't hear about them so much. You don't need to hear me tell the same story over and over again. So I think it's valuable for me to find those stories that are not known by many people, and it takes a little bit of research, but I'm fine doing it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy looking for them and finding them, and a lot of them it's not on the internet, believe it or not. Today everybody thinks it's the internet. I find a lot of things in books that never, because someone had to take the time to put it on the internet, and that didn't always happen. Hey, I'll try West. Yep. It's all for fun. It's all for fun. And as long as I keep doing, as long as I'm enjoying doing it, I'll continue to do it. That's really my motto. Look at this candle. This candle already burned down. Look at that. These candles burn pretty quickly. I don't know how people lived off of them for electricity, and for light. There must have been another way that I don't know about for making candles not burn down so quickly. Because here, you're doing a workshop on Italian. Oh, that's interesting. Italian folk music. Oh, folk magic. Oh, wow. Wow, interesting, Citrullo. I'd really be interested to hear about that. Ghost Ship. The movie Ghost Ship? I don't think I have, Evan. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, Todd Father, that was fun. That was fun to look at the people dancing, look at the bride dancing. That was fun. Yeah, Adam, but if you remember the Ripley's Believe It or Not on TV with who was the host? I don't know if you remember who the host was. Um, what was that guy's name? Anybody? Somebody must know it. Somebody must know the host's name. He was a famous actor. He always played a villain. He always played a villain in the older movies in the 50s and 60s. Um, and he played in Batman. He played the Joker's crime boss. What the heck was his name? But anyway, in those Ripley's Believe It or Nots in the early 80s or the 80s, whenever it was, they would never give you the answer. Like they would never give you the logical answer. They would kind of leave it open. They would kind of leave explanations open, and you had to ascertain for yourself what the actual, and actual answer was to the weird thing they were talking about. Jack Palance, there you go, Citrullo. Thank you. Absolutely, Jack Palance. Yeah, yeah. And am I right? I mean, they always used to leave it open. They'd give you several type of scenarios, and they left it open. Like they never came to an absolute conclusion to say like this is what it actually is. I remember I used to watch that with my grandparents. We used to watch that whenever that was on. I forgot, was that on a Sunday or it was definitely on the weekends, whether it was a Sunday or a Saturday. I remember. Yes. Yep. Yep. Citrullo, definitely. Yep. Cut a hole in a regular 12-inch by 8-inch piece of paper and walk through it because of Ripley's Believe It or Not. Yes, do it. I want to see that. I want to see that video. Yeah, I know. I lost my. The connectivity issues are horrible tonight. I don't know what it is. I got to get something to boost my Wi-Fi or something to outside because I'm getting more and more of these problems. Yeah, now the freaking laptop is black. I don't understand it. But anyway, so that's my story, guys, and I'm gonna wrap it up. I just want to thank each and every one of you for spending some time with me on a Friday evening. I hope I gave you something to think about and entertained you a bit. And that's my goal. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching the Wine Guild. You too, Nick. And I hope everybody has an awesome 4th of July weekend. Relax, enjoy, spend some time with your loved ones, friends, and family. That's the best time anyway. And I'll hope to see you next time. And actually, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to look to see if I could do some more pre-records because I really do like doing them short and sweet. And you can watch them at your leisure. You don't have to worry about, and I don't have to be stuck here at specific times or dates. But and I like doing them as premieres because it gives everybody a notice. You put the thumbnail up. It gives everybody a notice of when they're on. It brings more attention to it. So, but anyway, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys. Thanks everyone. I enjoy spending time with you guys. So thank you so much for making this possible. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Happy birthday, America. Bye bye.